TikTokers are now storming Scientology churches because I guess you can't stop them all. I mean, history doesn't really repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. Pre-pandemic, they were storming Area 51. I even went there to cover it. And now, I guess, instead of going way out in the Nevada desert to find aliens, TikTokers just realized they can storm the Scientology church in LA to maybe find Tom Cruise.
We've never seen you behave this way before.
I know.
Have you ever felt this way before?
So this obviously started as a quite entertaining and potentially dangerous trend. Because if you know anything about Scientology, you know they have a bit of a reputation for their unique beliefs and the lengths they'll go to protect them.
Scientology engages in renditions and kidnappings. Journalists and advocates for victims face harassment and surveillance simply for doing their jobs.
And you might not even know too much about the Church of Scientology besides the fact that Tom Cruise has always been their like celebrity spokesperson. It costs a ton of money to join them, and they've kind of been like the butt of the joke for South Park and Family Guy for years at this point. Or maybe you've heard some of the theories online that it was created in the 50s by some sci-fi writer as a cash grab and a way to dodge taxes, with many people claiming it's not even a real religion.
I've been Scientologist for over 30 years.
Yeah.
Without it, I wouldn't be where I am.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful religion, and I'm very proud.
I don't know. We're not here to talk about that. Today, we're talking about the countless amounts of TikTokers who are just storming the Church of Scientology. And I feel like one of the reasons this is happening is because the general public usually never gets more than a glimpse behind the curtain, and that's by design. I mean, you have a bunch of people saying the wife of the current leader of Scientology has been missing for almost 20 years, and the church doesn't seem too worried about providing anyone with their whereabouts. But hey, again, who knows what's going on? We're talking about the storming. Regardless, they're not exactly an open book when it comes to what goes on inside that church. So now you have a bunch of TikTok teenagers bursting in and filming as much of the inner workings of the church as possible. That's been quite fascinating to see unfold online, because that's exactly what started happening on TikTok, and this trend is showing absolute no signs of stopping. And before we get into this, for legal purposes, I do not condone this behavior. Please do not storm the Scientology offices. Well, now that we have that out of the way, according to news sources, the first video that blew up was posted on March 31st by a user named Swiley. But apparently it originated from a video posted on March 24th from a user by the name of It's Derpy on TikTok, where he just ran through the front of the building and out the side door.
Zeno! 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 You can't touch me. You can't touch me.
Get out.
She ripped my shirt. She ripped my shirt.
And it was when It's Derpy reached out to Swiley to do a collab run wearing meta glasses where the trend really started to explode.
I'm wallahi, I'm going in here. I'm wallahi. I'm wallahi. I'm wallahi, I'm going in here. Where's Zeno? Zeno's not here. Damn, you got a nice haircut.
And from there on out, this became a trend and started taking a life of its own. So then you had a whole group of teens post that they got way further than the first two, and the trend just kept snowballing.
A new group has surpassed the last in not only getting into this building, but running through it and making it out on the other side. It wasn't just captured by the locals outside the building who were in shock that this group was not only able to successfully get through, but were also able to get out of this building.
I mean, this is just so laughably stupid. I can't believe this is a trend in 2026, but it does kind of say a lot about where the current internet culture is. But it does look like they do shove one worker to the ground and get past him, but it's also hard to tell from the angle. But if that's true, in theory, they could be held responsible for assault.
Get out! Get out!
Get out of the building! Get out of the building! Now! You're trespassing! Get out of the building! Get out of the building!
Get out!
Stop right there, criminal scum!
You haven't paid the 500 grand to have access to this building.
There's a reason why this channel highlights the internet's most ridiculous moments, just like there's a reason why Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. Because when you're seriously hurt, your injury could be worth millions of dollars. And if you're injured by someone else's negligence, you deserve to be paid. And Morgan & Morgan does not settle for lowball offers. With over $30 billion recovered for clients, Morgan & Morgan knows a thing or two about fighting for the compensation you deserve. And with over 1,000 lawyers lawyers and hundreds of offices nationwide, it's kind of like having an entire army on your side. Not all law firms are the same, because if you hire the wrong one, you may lose before you even get started. So if you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan at forthepeople.com/Atozy, and if you end up working with them, their fee is completely free unless you win. And you can find the link at the top of the description down below to see if you actually have a claim. But without further ado, let's continue the video. Unfortunately, though, a lot of these kids seem to be under 18, so it's not like they're really going to get too much punishment from this, I don't think. Who knows? But apparently the trend has gotten to the point where Hollywood church staff has now been turned into NPCs of sorts, and they're not even real people for the viewers. They get excited to see certain returning characters in the videos, and they're trying to block the intruders with their bodies while they scream into their walkie-talkies.
And they even met up with Shannon.
Get out of the building! Now! You're trespassing! Get out!
She apparently runs the place or something. She's essentially famous on TikTok now as the angry Scientology lady.
The whole situation just looks so cartoonish. It feels like we're combining gameplay from Subway Surfers and Sly Cooper somehow. I don't even know if that makes sense. But of course, the internet took this and ran with it, because users on TikTok have now started to try to, map out the buildings based on, the mounting footage. As every group goes in, they explore new areas of the building, so then people start mapping out more and more of the building. And I guess people are ranking the speedruns based on how far into the building they can get in. So this really just is taking urban exploration to a whole new level.
People are also now drawing out maps of what we know the Scientology building looks like so far. I'm excited to see where things keep on going.
So that I have people hand drawing out maps daily as more and more footage comes out, making this increasingly dangerous because, people want to be more and more ballsy with this and get further into the building. I don't know. Maybe they think they're going to find Tom Cruise in the basement or something like that. Who knows? But people were calling it speedrunning the church and making memes about, Tom Cruise being the final boss you face when you actually reach the end. Then you have other people pushing for a reskin of the Subway Surfers game to make it all Scientology themed. All in all, though, the general public clearly found this pretty funny more than anything, and a lot of people claim that the Scientologists deserve this, with very few people considering this even illegal, which, it is.
The coolest people of the Gen Z generation are those kids that keep running through the Scientology building. That shit is so funny and just so punk rock. I just cannot get enough of it.
But now it's even begun to spread to other Scientology churches in other cities and states and possibly other countries, considering, there's a Church of Scientology in nearly every major city, according to their own website, and people online want to get involved in that trend, I guess. So, now it's a worldwide thing. It's one thing to be stupid enough to climb the outside of the building and risk your own safety, but also to risk the safety of others and to trespass into a private building where you could potentially get hurt, lost, or arrested is something completely different. In one video, the staff immediately shut the doors behind a kid who runs in and leaves his friend standing and filming outside while he realizes he has no way to help.
Oh my god. Oh, we just went the basement. Oh, get it.
Luckily, the kid gets out of a side door, but still, this could get a little sketchy. Another video shows a group of kids quietly wandering around the lobby of their local Scientology church, possibly, staking out in hopes of going further the next time for another video. And considering these buildings are usually mostly empty and pretty understaffed, they're definitely not prepared for a whole bunch of teenagers blitzkrieging them. But for the most part, it seems to be fairly harmless because I haven't seen a video where they actually damage anything. You have that one clip where one kid pushed a staff member. That's really the worst I've seen so far. But again, this is trespassing, but since Scientologists seem generally uninterested in being more public than necessary, it feels unlikely that something real will even happen in a legal sense, at least, even though police were called to the Hollywood building after a reported 50 kids stormed into the building, but had fled before the police arrived. 50 kids ran in there? Are you serious? But again, since I guess they're just private, no police report was taken and the investigation stopped there. So it seems like unless you are directly caught on the scene, the police might not be your main concern. But that doesn't mean the church doesn't have its own way of handling things. In fact, they do have something they call fair game, which according to Wikipedia is a term they use to describe policies and practices carried out by the Church of Scientology towards people and groups it perceives as its enemies. And I mean, that's worrying. And I guess a threat to the church could very well apply to someone who was trespassing, filming, and mapping out the inner workings of their private buildings. I guess you have actress and former Scientologist turned advocate against the church, Leah Remini. She's even weighed in on the trend and advised against it for a number of reasons, even beyond the obvious danger.
There was a time that I truly appreciated what I was seeing on platforms like TikTok, people who were never in Scientology talking about it in a way that could reach others, especially younger people, and help prevent them from being involved. That kind of awareness was very important and it had a purpose. But this is not that. What I'm seeing now, running into Scientology buildings, harassing staff, provoking reactions for TikTok is not really exposure. It feels like it's about clicks and it's turning something serious into content. In doing so, it completely loses the point.
So this is an interesting take. So apparently these kids are giving the Scientologists exactly what they wanted: victimhood.
This trend creates chaos. It creates a spectacle. And worst of all, it hands Scientology exactly what they want: the ability to position themselves as the victim.
And Leah grew up in the church, but ultimately left in 2013. And she had a TV show in 2016 called Scientology and the Aftermath, where she outlined some of the church's sketchy practices and, her opinion, corruption. And she's been one of the main faces leading the charge against the church. And she says that these kids running through the church is stupid because, well, it's an idiotic idea, but also very dangerous.
And understand this too. This is for your own safety. You know, they're going to go after you. They're going to involve law enforcement. They're going to have you arrested if they can, for one purpose: to silence your voice and your platform. So this actually benefits them.
And while that's true, unfortunately, after covering everything I've covered here on the internet, that warning isn't going to stop them. But yeah, obviously, you risk getting arrested. And like I mentioned, the church will want to get justice somehow, apparently. But the big thing here is Leah says this is the stuff this church actually likes, because then they get to act like they are a legitimate religion being persecuted.
They want to be able to say that they're being harassed. They want to reinforce this false narrative that they're a legitimate religion being persecuted, and you're playing into that narrative. The people inside the Scientology, they're trained to react in a certain way to make themselves appear as though they're being harassed and victimized. So what may feel like exposing something is really, in reality, distracting from the real dangers of Scientology. And that's what they want.
Now, again, we aren't here to discuss that. We're just here to talk about the speed runs. But apparently this only gives them more reason to feel like they're victims and being targeted by normal people, which is exactly how they want their followers to, I guess, feel: isolated and targeted. Like, imagine this is someone's first impression and they feel bad for the staff and decide to look into Scientology and how they can help, but instead they end up just in the pipeline joining the religion. Obviously, I feel like that's kind of a reach, but still, anything is possible in 2026. But now you even have kids dressing up as Jesus and doing speed runs inside of the Scientology church. And then you have whatever this is. I mean, what is even going on at the Scientology HQ at this point? Apparently, they also removed all door handles because so many people were speed running their churches. One would think that could be a safety hazard, but what do I know? As of right now, though, nobody's been held accountable, despite the names and the faces of all these people being very public. It'll definitely be interesting to see if the church does decide to press charges, or if people just decide to do more and more speed runs. Either way, it doesn't seem like this trend is slowing down, so we might as well make a follow-up video in the future. So if you're new here, feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.